What is the stupidest way you've injured yourself? When I was a kid, we had blue carpet in the living room. I had just watched some movie or show where the characters jumped into a painting, and I started thinking maybe if I believed really hard, the blue carpet would turn into a vast ocean. So I climbed up on the recliner and swan dove into the floor. I can hear the narrator's voice going, "Blue carpets do not, in fact, turn into vast oceans, as little you, Hugo War was about to find out." When I was maybe 5 or 6, I had recurring dreams that if I ran downhill, against the wind fast enough, and jumped, I could fly. They were extremely realistic. It was also very frequent, to the point where I began to doubt their status as dreams. One day, I noticed the wind was blowing up the hill we live atop. I decided to try it. I sprinted full speed down this hill and leapt hard as I could, and promptly smashed my face against the sidewalk. I'm a welder, I work with really hot steel parts constantly. But I regularly burn myself on the microwave meals I eat for lunch. I don't understand how microwave meals survive the cooking process. My leftovers go in for 1 minute 30 and it sounds like a WW2 airstrike is poppin' off. Microwave meals tell you to put that shit in for 3 minutes, stir, then back in for another 100 years and they come out fine? Dark magics. LMAO, once put in hot dogs with water. Big fucking mistake. Spilled on my arm after taking it out. I had ice in the fridge so it wasn't too bad. One of the biggest microwave cock punches has to be coffee mugs that don't say on the bottom if they're microwave safe. The real answer is that the thing that microwaves heat up is the water in food. Leftovers cook quickly because there is a lot of water in them. Microwave meals take longer because the water is removed to make them more shelf stable. Edit. Someone pointed out that adding water lessens the increase in temperature, because it takes more energy to heat up said water, but water conducts the heat better so it feels hotter. I still think from a layman perspective more water equals hotter still applies. I can relate to this. I was a foundry worker a while back. Worked in an environment daily casting 4 tons at time of molten steel. Riddled with small, although some not so small, burns on my hands. Yet they're mainly from cooking. I think from working in such a hot environment I've become accustomed to heat, so most of my burns from the kitchen are from picking up hot pans, not realizing, feeling they're burning my hand until it's too late. Admittedly though, the worst burn I have had is from the foundry. Got hit in the leg by a splash of molten steel during casting. Required 2 surgeries and took about 18 months to heal. My regular work-related burns are sparks on my left leg, and slag dropping on my crotch. Thought I could walk my dog on a leash while riding my bike. Dog saw a squirrel and yanked me off my bike. I broke a few bones in my hand. Doc was like, "What did you expect would happen?" This reminds me of when we first got our dog and it was my then 7-year-old's turn to take the dog out into the yard on the leash. But my daughter quickly got bored and wanted to climb a tree. She tied the dog's leash to a long jump rope, to another, and climbed. Edit to add, she tied the end of the line of ropes to her waist and climbed. My husband pulled into the driveway in the car. Puppy wildly dashed towards him at full speed. Kid flew out of the top of the tree, landed halfway across the yard and was dragged the rest of the way. Puppy never broke stride. When I was about 8 I was holding the leash when my parents and I went to walk our dog one day. I decided it would be fun to run with the dog. When I decided I was done running I didn't know how to give the dog the memo and just stopped. I got literally lifted into the air like a kite momentarily and then dragged a little ways on the street by the dog. My mom still laughs when she tells the story. "Oh my god, your daughter is okay, right?" I have a climbing-obsessed 3-year-old daughter, so I think I just read one of my great fears. My sister's boyfriend rides his bike to run their dog. They even enter bike-dog races with him. I think the lead is attached to the bike though and he's trained for it. Also he's a husky, malamute cross, which are 2 breeds bred for pulling, so that's possibly a factor too. Yeah, I've seen a person with a kind of pole sticking out of the side of their bike which connected to the dog. That way the dog always has to maintain a certain distance from the bike and cannot run into or away from it. The dog then got excited and ran in front of the bike and got run over. Edit: people are worried about the dog. He yelped, learned his lesson for now, and the owner stopped and laughed a bit. I'm pretty sure it isn't the first time he's done that. The city I grew up in actually has a bylaw against walking your dog while operating a bike. Always thought it was kind of a dumb, oddly specific bylaw. Now I think I know why. Bending over to pick up a paper bag. A completely empty paper grocery store bag. It was standing upright, not even laying on the floor. I barely had to even bend down to pick it up. Somehow this triggered a cosmic alignment between two vertebrae and nerve cluster because suddenly I fell to the floor in crippling pain, could not get my back straight and had to crawl to the living room so I could lay on the carpeted floor and try to stretch it out. I ended up fucked up like this for days and had to have physical therapy to slowly work out the pinched nerve. I was basically walking like Quasimodo for a couple weeks. People would assume I was in an accident or lifting some boulder like Hercules or saving a child pinned under a car. But nope. I was undone by an empty paper bag. Edit: thanks very much for the silver and prayers lol. Ooh, I feel you. I have done this twice. The first time I lifted my foot to put a sock on and immediately found myself on the floor in the worst pain I've ever felt. I spent a good 3 weeks hobbling around hunched over, barely able to move. Second, I bent over to pick my cat up. Same thing, ended up on the floor, except this time on top of a really pie *** ed off cat. Luckily I was good in about a week from that one. A few days ago I spent the day rearranging furniture in my house on my own while my husband was at work. I'm 5'4", female, and already have a prosthetic hip, so not the best idea to start with. I managed to move a ton of stuff without injuring myself. Once I'd finished, I sat down with a cuppa, and my 3-year-old came to ask me to get a toy that was trapped under the TV stand. It wasn't in an awkward place, I just had to get on my knees to get it out. Somehow, that was when my knee decided to give in. I spent the next week or so limping around trying not to do anything to aggravate it. Including cooking 2 3-course meals for friends that we had planned weeks previously. Yay, no, not fun. I swear the human body is so weird sometimes. I'm a relatively healthy and fit lad in my mid-20s and I had spent the day helping my parents move some furniture which included some pretty heavy lifting. No problem. At the end of the day I was walking down the hallway and had to step over a box about thigh height. I planted my foot at a weird angle and as I put my weight on that leg I dislocated my knee. A year later and tons of physio and it's still not really the same. Right? Yours sounds super painful though. Hope it does eventually come right. And here I just yawned and stretched myself into a neck cramp. Something like this happened to me once. I was out trying to fix a hole in a panel fence one of my mom's miniature horses kept sneaking through. Well, I find the spot and start putting in staples so it'll hold, and I drop a staple cause I'm clumsy like that. So I reach down to grab it and I audibly hear a pop and almost fall over, nearly unable to move at all. I somehow got over the fence and back onto my 4-wheeler and spent the following week in bed moving as little as possible. I have no idea what I popped, but it felt like I'd been stabbed in the back. Even breathing hurt so much that I'd wake up in the middle of the night because I'd take too deep of a breath. When I was a kid, maybe 10 or so, I had recently discovered that the feet on my prosthetics could be unscrewed and moved into different positions, so I borrowed an Allen key from my dad and took it to school so I could unscrew my feet and show my friends at recess. None of them were as blown away by this as I'd hoped, pretty sure they were just used to this kind of thing by now, haha. Anyway, the bell went to tell us to go back to class and I very quickly tightened the feet back onto the prosthetics, put my shoes back on and started making my way back to class. As I was walking with a group of my classmates I started to notice my legs felt wobbly. I looked down and with every step my feet were turning outwards slightly. A normal person would have come to the conclusion, oh, I didn't tighten the screws up enough. But not me, I jumped to the conclusion of, holy shit, I can control my feet like a robot. My excitement quickly turned to dread when I realized I don't know how to control feet, been an amputee since I was a baby, and they kept turning until one was pointing sideways. Despite this, I kept trying to walk, and after a few more steps the foot just fell off and I managed to slam the now footless prosthetic down, which jarred my knee and hips and caused me to slip over and face plant into the corner of a cement mini wall, one of those waist-high walls. Being a self-respecting 10-yo, I started bawling my eyes out, which caught the attention of the new teacher. It's her first day and the only disabled student is in pieces. The foot got thrown backwards when it fell off, with a bloodied nose, screaming like a banshee. She didn't really know what to do since I couldn't get back up, so she gave me some tissues for my nose and made a very confused call to the maintenance man asking if he knows how to fix prosthetics so I can get to the school nurse. TLDR, my prosthetic foot fell off and I face planted into a cement wall.